Thank you guys for coming to the PLC today. I'm going to share with you some research that I have done. It's about implementing productive instructional time by creating classroom jobs. Here's my table of contents. We've got lots of things in store for you today, so let's go ahead and look at our agenda. I'm going to talk about my vision statement, my introduction to the PLC project, something that we can work on as a PLC to better succeed our students. We are going to talk about a problem that I have noticed, a strategy and plan, my literature review, my action plan, my data analysis, and then my reflection and the next steps. My vision statement is, as a teacher leader, it's going to create a classroom that instills responsibility in each student. I will prepare them for the real world by creating a classroom of lifelong independent learners who are responsible and build positive relationships with others. Students will grow through responsibility, leadership, and academics. I will give each student responsibilities starting out through classroom jobs that they must perform each day. The problem. Red Cross Elementary is a needs improvement school. We also had a time audit a few months ago, I'm sure you remember, and that some of our grades were wasting up to 90 minutes of instructional time. That is huge. All too often I see teachers after school or even during school, I see them doing classroom chores like sharpening pencils or getting a box of Kleenexes out of the cubby and sitting it down on the desk during class time for the classroom. Instead of, instructing or preparing for the next day or meeting with their team to discuss lesson planning. I realized that there had to be another way to get these chores done. We're working ourselves to death. Let's work smarter, not harder. So a year ago, I decided to implement classroom jobs. And I want to share my success story and how it not only benefited me as a teacher, but it also benefited my students. It's a win-win for all. And I know you're thinking, well, that's just another thing to do. We're going to talk about it here in just a little bit. So let's just talk about some benefits of classroom jobs. Again, my saying, work smarter, not harder. It's not just another thing to do. It might be a little bit more right up front, and you'll have to really set the expectations for your students. But then, as the year progresses, you'll really get to see the benefits of having those responsible students work in your class. It's appropriate for all grade levels. I know you're thinking, she teaches kindergarten and she gives these kids jobs. They love it. And they have a sense of belonging that this is our classroom family. Like, I'm taking care of my classroom family by doing these jobs. They love it. It makes your classroom procedures more efficient. You're wasting less instructional time if the kids know exactly what they're supposed to do. It creates a welcoming environment, just like I said. You could have a greeter each morning stand at the door as they're coming in and tell them good morning. It just gives them a sense of belonging in your classroom. And then it's also a tool for managing behavior, because sometimes we have too much downtime, and if they know exactly what they're supposed to do as their job, then there's less time for them to be getting into other things and causing more problems. My strategy. So, of course, we've talked about our time audit. And so to become a proficient or distinguished school, we as teachers are going to have to use every second of instructional time instead of wasting it doing things around our classroom that a student could easily do. The strategy that we're going to implement to assist in solving this problem is obviously classroom jobs. So I believe that creating classroom jobs will help with wasted instructional time and wasted time spent doing things after school. If you implement classroom jobs correctly in your room, you will be able to spend more time instructing and less time taking care of things that another student could be doing. We need to be instructing every minute possible, again, if we want to become a proficient school. addition, if you complete classroom chores like sweeping, wiping tables at the end of the day, right before school lets out, if you do that right before school lets out with your kids, if you do that right before you let out of school with your kids, then that gives you extra time after school to prepare more rigorous lessons and gives the teachers more time to plan and create lessons that might require a little bit more preparation. Because let's just face it, after school, we are tired. If we're doing all these other things after school that the kids could be doing before they leave, then we're just kind of doing the bare minimum lesson planning. So if we have a little bit of extra time on our hands, then we are more likely to be able to plan lessons that require a little bit more work. So our plan, of course, we're going to create classroom jobs together, and then we will discuss during our PLC how much instructional time was saved by creating these jobs. And then you don't have to write it down during class time. I saved this much time. I mean, it's just an estimate of how much time you are still wasting. And we're going to discuss within the PLC how to solve those problems. Maybe create a classroom job for that. Okay, our literature review, really quick. This is kind of what sparked my idea of classroom jobs. This was a study about an urban school to examine how classroom management and routines contributed to academic achievement, and they measured it by using ACT scores. Classroom management contributed positively to classroom climate, and climate in turn contributed to academic achievement, which is what we are all really wanting anyway, is student academic achievement. And then another thing that I found, it wasn't a study, but it just talks about the positive effects of classroom jobs are overwhelming. Research supports that teachers need to organize their classroom like the world of work, like the real world, with the teacher as the employer and the students as the employees. This is an excellent way to prepare the students for the world of work and get them to help with classroom routines and chores, and they can kind of be in charge of the classroom community, the community. Classroom jobs build a sense of excitement, interdependence, and responsibility. All right, our action and plan. Okay, so obviously what we're going to do is create classroom jobs that you feel like you have been wasting instructional time on or spending a lot of time doing after school. Now, obviously, it can't be lesson planning. You can't create a student job to lesson plan. But I'm talking about things around your classroom, like cleaning the whiteboard or sweeping the floor, wiping the tables, sharpening pencils, getting the Kleenex box out of the cubby to replace the old one, sending attendance to the office every morning, going to tell a teacher that such and such Johnny is missing. You know, just things like that. That can be your messenger. Just different things that you feel like you are wasting time on that your students could, take that off of you. So after you create your classroom jobs, you're going to have a list. And most of us have about 25 kids in our class. Sometimes we have less. And also, don't forget, a chair stacker at the end of the day. You can have 2 people do the same job. So if you, like a chair stacker, one person doing that, that's a lot of work. So maybe have 2 or 3 people even doing the chair stackers, 2 people wiping tables. So it's really not as many jobs as you would think, because you can kind of double up. So create about 19 jobs, and I've got a list of examples that are included in my PowerPoint at the end. You're going to create these jobs, this list. And remember that not every teacher is going to have the same list. So kind of brainstorm on your own here in just a few minutes what you feel like you are wasting time on. Not everybody's is going to be the same. And then after you create your jobs, you're going to find a way to display the jobs in your classroom. And I know that this is summer, so this is a perfect time for us to get together and talk about what jobs you would like to implement in your classroom. So you're going to create a design, a way to display the jobs. So if you teach primary, You can use a bulletin board like the picture that is shown here. It's just a bulletin board that you can put up. It's got all the different jobs, and you can use clothespins with names on it, or you can do like a little pocket chart with popsicle sticks in each one and just move them each week. But then also for the intermediate, I know that you guys use Dojo. You can also, I've done some research, I don't use Dojo, but I've done research, and you can actually do your jobs on Dojo, and then you can switch them each week so that the students don't get tired of the same job all year long. They switch every week, and they look forward to it, believe me. So make sure that all students have a job. This is part of our plan. And explicitly state job expectations up front. Now, this is not going to work if we do not explicitly tell them exactly what we want and the expectations. So I know it's a lot of work up front, especially for kindergarten. You have to show them, model exactly what you want and what you want it to look like as the ending product. Okay, so really, that's probably one of the most important parts, is stating your expectations and holding to those. And then, after you switch that first week, after you train them, tell them the expectations really well that first week. You won't have to do it again. And then you will have the students train one another to do the classroom jobs. So this is perfect for the leader and me in our school. These children, these students are going to be our leaders. And they are going to lead other students and teach them how to do these other jobs. So this is perfect for the Leader in Me program. Alright, so now it's time for us to get to work. So what you're going to do is create a list of things that you feel like you are wasting time on, either during the school day or after school, that a student could kind of relieve you from. So make a list, and then you're going to brainstorm and share with the group at your table. And then you're going to create a classroom job list. That's going to be your 19, 20 jobs that your students could do. And yes, you can use your technology, your smartphone or iPad or laptop to help you do this. And then I want you to kind of draw out, design, or write how you want to display these jobs in your classroom. And then think about clear directions and expectations for each job. What exactly you want. Okay? So, during our future PLCs, from now on after we create this list, every other week that we meet, we are going to discuss what is working and what is not, and how we are going to solve those problems of things that are not working. Maybe you're still wasting instructional time on sharpening pencils. Well, how can we solve this? Maybe you need to have your pencil sharpener not only sharpen the pencils during the day if a student needs a pencil sharpened, but maybe right before we go home, have a bucket of pencils by the pencil sharpener that he or she can sharpen at the end of the day, so that you won't waste as much instructional time. The group will discuss an estimate. Discuss an estimate on how much instructional time and time spent after school is saved by implementing classroom jobs, but also we're going to discuss what we're still wasting on and how to solve that. The group will discuss any differences that we see in student responsibility, behavior, or academic success. You know, we don't want to always share the negatives, what's not working. We also want to share the positives, what positive things that we're seeing from implementing classroom jobs. My hypothesis, if we do this correctly, that we will experience less wasted instructional time and less time wasted after school doing classroom chores if we implement the classroom jobs appropriately. In addition, my hypothesis is that classroom procedures will be more efficient, and that there will be a more welcoming classroom environment, and it could also motivate students who struggle with behavior issues. So my goal, this is the reflection, my goal is to use as much instructional time as possible teaching students. We have already been told that from our time on it that we are wasting too much instructional time. It's also my goal that we use as much time as possible after school preparing lessons for our students. My desired outcome is to use the entire school day to teach students not only content, but also preparing them for the real world by letting them have a lot of responsibility. Classroom jobs will teach students responsibility, like I said, promote positive behavior, and ensure that students feel welcomed in our classroom. If we teach students responsibility in the classroom, they will carry over that behavior outside of the classroom. They will have responsibility of their academic success. So our next steps. My next steps will be to assist other teachers like you all to create your classroom jobs and assisting you with the design if you need it. And then also helping you create those expectations and directions for your students, any grade level. At the next PLC in the fall, this coming fall, we will discuss what's working and what is not. We will improve and tweak these jobs until our room is running efficiently and the wasted instructional time is minimal.